Loni Anderson, the beloved television icon known for her glamorous role as Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati, has passed away at the age of 79 in a Los Angeles hospital following a prolonged illness. Her longtime publicist Cheryl J. Kagan confirmed the heartbreaking news, adding that a private family service is being arranged at the historic Hollywood Forever Cemetery. As tributes pour in from across the entertainment world, one of the most poignant and heartfelt came from her former WKRP in Cincinnati co-star Jan Smithers, who played the smart, grounded reporter Bailey Quarters. Jan Smithers and Loni Anderson shared more than just screen time on the iconic sitcom that ran from 1978 to 1982. They shared a unique bond that blossomed over the years, growing far beyond the confines of a Hollywood set. Though their characters often contrasted sharply, with Jennifer being the blonde bombshell and Bailey the intellectual brunette, the two actresses shared an unbreakable connection behind the scenes. Their deep mutual respect, admiration, and ultimately friendship helped transcend the tropes and clichés that too often divide women in show business. Upon learning of Anderson's passing, Jan Smithers issued a moving and emotional tribute that immediately resonated with fans, colleagues, and industry insiders. Loni had a light that couldn't be dimmed even in her most private struggles, Smithers said in a statement. She was a fighter, a true professional, and one of the most gracious women I've ever known. While the world may remember her for her beauty, I will always remember her heart. Smithers' words carried the weight of 4 decades of shared memories, from long days on set, filled with laughter and late-night rehearsals, to public appearances where the two women were often pitted against each other by the media. Rather than falling into that trap, they leaned into sisterhood. Over time, their on-screen rivalry evolved into off-screen camaraderie, a relationship built on trust, support, and resilience. Their journey together began in the late 1970s, a transformative era for women in television. WKRP in Cincinnati was a breakthrough show in many ways, especially in how it portrayed female characters. Jennifer and Bailey represented two very different types of women, one outwardly glamorous and confident, the other modest and quietly brilliant. But both were competent, self-assured, and independent, a rarity for female characters at the time. Much of that authenticity stemmed from the real-life energy between Anderson and Smithers, who brought their own lived experiences and strength into their roles. In her tribute, Smithers recalled one of the earliest conversations she had with Anderson on set. "We were both a little nervous about how we'd be perceived. People love to make comparisons between women," she wrote. "But Loni looked me in the eye and said, 'Let's make sure they remember both of us.' She was determined that
She was determined that we both shine. That kind of generosity is rare in this industry."
Even after WKRP wrapped, Anderson and Smithers remained close. Though their careers took them in different directions, they kept in touch through phone calls, handwritten notes, and the occasional lunch in Los Angeles when their paths crossed. Smithers, who later stepped away from the Hollywood spotlight to focus on her family and spiritual journey, often credited Anderson as someone who kept her grounded.
Loni never lost sight of who she was, she said. She was proud of being a woman, proud of being a mother, and proud of being a survivor.
Anderson's long illness was something she battled privately with the same strength and grace she had shown throughout her life. Friends say she didn't want her final days to be defined by sickness, but rather by love. Love for her children, her friends, her fans, and the life she had built through decades of perseverance. Smithers was one of the few allowed to visit her in those final weeks, a privilege that left her both honored and heartbroken. "We sat together in silence," Smithers shared. "There wasn't much that needed to be said. I held her hand and I told her how proud I was of her. She smiled, and that smile said everything." Fans of WKRP in Cincinnati have long debated who they related to more, the glamorous Jennifer or the thoughtful Bailey. But those who worked on the show often say the real magic was in their dynamic together. It was the tension, the chemistry, and ultimately the harmony between these two characters and actresses that elevated the series from sitcom to cultural milestone.
Smithers, in her tribute, made sure to emphasize that there would have been no Bailey without Jennifer.
She said, and there would have been no WKRP without Loni Anderson. Smithers also recalled how Anderson championed causes close to her heart, especially children's health and lung disease awareness. Having lost her own mother to COPD, Anderson became a vocal advocate for early detection and treatment, working with organizations like the American Lung Association to bring more attention to respiratory illnesses.
Even when she was hurting, she wanted to help others.
Smithers noted,
That was Loni.
The private service at Hollywood Forever Cemetery is expected to be intimate, attended by family, close friends, and a few long-time industry colleagues. Though public memorials are not currently planned, fans have been gathering at sites associated with Anderson's career, leaving flowers and messages outside television studios and along the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Jan Smithers, for her part, has chosen to remember Anderson in a deeply personal way, through the legacy of love and light she left behind.
She lived a full life,
Smithers said.
a beautiful, complicated, joyful, meaningful life. She was one of a kind, and I will miss her always.
This touching tribute from Smithers
was one of a kind, and I will miss her always. This touching tribute from Smithers underscores a loss that feels personal to so many. Loni Anderson wasn't just a Hollywood icon, she was a symbol of empowerment, resilience, and grace. Her character may have worn glamorous clothes and delivered zingers with perfect timing, but it was the woman behind the role, the friend, the mother, the advocate, who truly shone. Smithers closed her statement with a final thought that seemed to echo the sentiments of countless others who loved Loni Anderson. I hope you're up there somewhere, walking into a room with that same radiant smile, making everyone feel like they matter. You did that every day of your life. I love you, Loni. As the entertainment world mourns the loss of one of its brightest stars, Jan Smithers' heartfelt tribute serves not only as a farewell, but as a celebration of a friendship that defied expectation, a legacy that transcends fame, and a life that will never be forgotten. Loni Anderson, a name synonymous with charm, elegance, and comedic brilliance, carved a permanent place in television history through decades of dedication, talent, and resilience. Her journey from a small-town girl in Minnesota to one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood is a tale of determination, ambition, and heart. Over her multi-decade career, Anderson not only became a household name, but also broke barriers, challenged stereotypes, and inspired generations of women in the entertainment industry. Born on August 5, 1945 in St. Paul, Minnesota, Loni K. Anderson grew up in a middle-class family where her beauty and charisma stood out from an early age. Her father was a chemist and her mother was a model, which helped spark Anderson's early interest in performing. She graduated from the University of Minnesota and began working in regional theater and small film roles. Despite her glamorous appearance, Anderson was not immediately embraced by Hollywood. She spent years auditioning, facing rejections, and being told she was too pretty for certain roles. But Anderson was never content to be reduced to her looks. She wanted more, roles that were meaningful, stories that had impact, and characters with depth. Her breakthrough came in 1978, when she landed the role of Jennifer Marlowe on the CBS sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. As the beautiful and brainy receptionist at a struggling radio station, Anderson turned what could have been a shallow one-note character into a groundbreaking portrayal. Jennifer Marlowe was intelligent, confident, and completely in control of her own narrative, a far cry from the stereotypical dumb blonde roles common at the time. Her performance earned her 3 Golden Globe nominations and 2 Emmy nominations, and the show became a cult favorite. WKRP in Cincinnati ran for 4 seasons, but its legacy has endured for decades. Off-screen, Anderson quickly became a symbol of appearing on magazine covers and red carpets. Her signature platinum blonde hair, impeccable fashion, and dazzling smile made her a media darling.
But Loni was always aware of the price of fame and worked hard to control her public image. She became known not just for her beauty, but for her wit, professionalism, and advocacy for women's rights in an industry that often overlooked them. As her career evolved, Anderson took on a variety of roles that showcased her versatility. She starred in made-for-TV movies, dramas, and comedies, including A Letter to Three Wives, Partners in Crime, opposite Linda Carter, and White Hot, The Mysterious Murder of Thelma Todd, in which she played the doomed 1930s film star. These performances revealed her dramatic depth and ability to transform herself for demanding roles. Despite her screen success, Anderson's personal life was often under public scrutiny. She was married 4 times, most famously to actor Burt Reynolds. Their relationship was heavily covered by the media and became one of Hollywood's most talked-about unions during the 1980s. At first, the couple was seen as the ideal, glamorous pairing. 2 of the biggest stars of the era, but their marriage, which began in 1988, soon became tumultuous. The couple adopted a son, Quinton, and for a time tried to present a united, loving front. However, their relationship deteriorated quickly, and their 1993 divorce became headline news. Anderson accused Reynolds of verbal abuse and domestic violence, and the couple battled for years over custody and financial matters. Anderson later spoke publicly about the trauma she endured, becoming an advocate for victims of domestic abuse. Her courage in speaking out, especially at a time when few women did, earned her admiration and support from fans and women's rights groups. In addition to her personal challenges, Anderson also faced several health issues over the years. She was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, an illness that deeply affected her daily life. Though she had never been a smoker, she used her platform to raise awareness about the dangers of secondhand smoke and environmental pollutants. Her advocacy extended to working closely with the American Lung Association, where she became a spokesperson and fundraiser. Her efforts helped highlight how the disease could affect anyone, regardless of lifestyle, and encouraged many to seek early detection and medical support. In her later years, Anderson faced another prolonged illness, which she chose to keep private for much of her battle. Those close to her say she handled the illness with the same grace and strength that defined her entire life. She continued to make selective public appearances and remained close to her son Quinton, who she described as her greatest achievement. Away from the cameras, Loni Anderson also dedicated herself to numerous causes, particularly those benefiting women, children, and animals. She supported shelters for victims of domestic violence, contributed to children's hospitals, and worked with animal rescue organizations. Friends and colleagues often described her as deeply compassionate, someone who genuinely cared about the world around her and used her fame to uplift others. Throughout her life, Anderson also maintained friendships with many of her WKRP castmates, especially Jan Smithers. Though their characters on the show were often portrayed as opposites, the 2 women shared a deep bond. Their friendship was built on mutual respect and support, a testament to Anderson's ability to create lasting relationships in an industry known for fleeting connections. Professionally, Anderson never allowed herself to be pigeonholed. Even as she aged in an industry notorious for ageism, she found ways to stay relevant. She made guest appearances on shows like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, The Mullets, and So Notorious, always bringing charm and energy to every performance. While she was no longer a constant fixture on TV, she was always welcomed back with open arms whenever she returned to the screen. In her 2017 memoir, My Life in High Heels, Anderson reflected candidly on her life in and out of the spotlight. She detailed the joys and sorrows of fame, the challenges of being seen as a sex symbol, and her journey towards self-acceptance. Thoughtful. Beauty opened doors for me, she wrote, but it was my will, my work, and my heart that kept me going through all of it. Her passing marks the end of an era for fans of classic television. Loni Anderson wasn't just a television star, she was a cultural icon. She redefined what it meant to be a beautiful woman on screen, showing that glamour and intelligence could coexist. She stood tall in an industry that often tried to shrink women down. And she used her experiences, both joyful and painful, to uplift others. Those who knew her best say she was warm, funny, and fiercely loyal. She loved being a mother, adored her fans, and never lost her passion for acting. While her later years were spent mostly away from the spotlight, her impact remained palpable. Younger actresses often cited her as a role model, and reruns of WKRP in Cincinnati continued to introduce her to new generations. In the end, Loni Anderson's legacy is not just in the roles she played, but in the strength she showed through life's ups and downs. She proved that beauty is far more than skin deep, that resilience can be glamorous, and that even the brightest stars can shine the longest when fueled by authenticity, kindness, and courage. Her departure leaves a void in the hearts of millions who admired her not only for her talent, but for her strength. As tributes pour in from fans and fellow celebrities alike, one thing is clear: Loni Anderson's influence will never fade. Whether lighting up a sitcom screen, walking a red carpet, or quietly helping someone in need,